circle, I thank the four directions, Mother Earth and Father Sky. Some of you may ask why, and not understand where I'm coming from. That is because we have been kept from our ancient wisdom, torn away from our roots. That is why we have gangbangers, drug dealers, and prostitutes. Identity lost, spiritual death is the cost. Modern day Holocaust since 1492, but nobody's making a big deal about it like they did for the Jew. You see, Hitler's roots go back to Columbus. The first chance they got, they started killing us. To this very day, the killings are continuous. Just look at Chiapas, the southeast corner of Mexico, where Cortez started the killings over 400 years ago. It seems that murder is a ritual for the newly arrival, using the Bible or any other means to justify their atrocities. Took Africa's babies to refill the plantation due to the almost annihilation of the indigenous population. So enter the center of the circle and find your true identity, not a fantasy brought over by the philosophy of a foreign mentality. So I say to thee, yo, 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 Mexica Tiawi. Heavy is the load that we carry, living life as a revolutionary, spitting fire that the four winds will carry to every direction, through every dimension. Heavy is the load that we carry, living life as a revolutionary, spitting fire that the four winds will carry to every direction, through every dimension.
Mexica's a day will come when all of Anahuac will be unified as one. Broken is the cycle once you decide to change your mind, unleashing the ancestries that were left behind. Tezcatlipoca, Quetzalcoatl, or Mateo, guide us as we go to fight this evil with a jade heart and an obsidian spirit. I won't cease to persist to tell my people that we still exist. Always a scholar, never a teacher. Don't misunderstand me, brothers, I'm not a preacher, just a man trying the best I can to awaken the lost souls of Aslan. Like the rays of the sun, I'll nurture everyone. The truth's like a gun, you can't deny the crimes that he's done. Son of Yaku, your time is through. Aw shit, sick some prophecy coming true. The rising of the poor, going up against the gluttonous whore. Like my Zapatista brothers say, ya basta, we can't take this no more. Which Lilo Bochli, the energy of war. My spirit won't cease to exist to rise once more.
Is the load that we carry, living life as a revolutionary, spitting fire that the four winds will carry to every direction, through every dimension. Heavy is the load that we carry, living life as a revolutionary, spitting fire that the four winds will carry to every direction, through every dimension.
Gotta be Iron Man like Ghost Faces. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding in life is basics. Love makes this, jealousy hates this. Word to J. Wu, ignorance is contagious. The element that shapes this matrix. Take this spirit, shape shift to lyrics. Create this spirit, don't taste this, you feel it. As it embraces all races, leaving behind divine traces. You can't erase this like permanent marker. Bullseye all the time, top-notch archer. The richest papa spits this proper. Ella spiritu skills, it's all I got to get me through this existence. Moving with this resistance up against this beast, this machine. It's got me raging like De La Rocha steam. I've come to understand the power of cream, so I'm ruled by 1616 proverbs. I observe these raw words converse the God's verse to lost herds of sheep. See, my speech is so deep, most need flow these when this bro speaks or raps a flow. It's all natural. Watch my Mac and load as I crack the mode that entraps the soul. Take a chance, let go, let God unfold unto your soul. Let God unfold unto your soul.
Heavy is the load that we carry, living life as a revolutionary, spitting fire that the four winds will carry to every direction, through every dimension. Heavy is the load that we carry, living life as a revolutionary, spitting fire that the four winds will carry to every direction, through every dimension.
Yo, LA Natives Podcast, Las Aslan Natives Podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, comment in the video. Man, it's been a wild-ass week, right, Zero?
Yup. What's up? What's up, LA Natives community?
The deportations are on and cracking.
I think that, everything that they've been working for a very long time is either falling apart in front of our eyes, or they're just like happy that they're ready to implement it. But to me, it's like a recycled version of the 1940s. Except for this time, the community that supports, this particular fascist government is unhealthy, alcoholics. They're not very organized people.
We got deported veterans, support house, banished veterans. He said that music was fire.
Oh, thank you.
Yo, welcome back, deported. Yeah, we were just talking about this, it saddens me, man, that they pushed us. They pushed this narrative about deporting, you know, the most vicious, the most brutal immigrants, the ones that commit a whole bunch of crimes, that are felons and shit like that. But clearly, they're not just focused on them.
No, because they end up taking somebody's mom or dad or aunt. And hopefully it's not a child that doesn't have papers, because it sounds like they'll take them too.
Recently, I read an article that they just deported an 18-year-old girl because she got in a fight with her little brother. Mm-hmm. They scuffled for a little bit. Some family, domestic issues. The cops came. They found out they were illegals. And, they shipped it right out, which is weird.
We're in that time again. That just, be prepared for people. And I'm going to say that because it's frustrating to see, but I also don't think that they're the best trained or the best. They just really don't care, though. When they come and take you, they're just coming and taking you. They don't care. There's an agenda.
They call those people collateral. So like if they
collateral damage.
Yeah, like if they have a search warrant to go get this vicious child rapist that's an illegal. So they're saying if anyone around that area is illegal, they're going to catch them too.
Okay, so
and they're just considered collateral damage.
So let's not fall to fancy word plays. It's like when they said uneducated voter, they really meant somebody who didn't graduate high school, someone who is technically stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we say collateral damage, that was a fancy word that the Bush administration came up with, or maybe it came up with sooner. But I remember hearing it a lot in the Bush administration when they started going into Iraq, the collateral damage. That's a fancy way of saying we murdered a lot of innocent people. So if you put in the dictionary, or if you Google, what would you call murdering a lot of people at once, you would call that a massacre, right? But now we're calling it collateral damage. So I'm going to relate it to the deportations, because they're out there to get everyone, but they're saying we're going after the dangerous ones, but we're out to get everyone.
But doesn't it seem like it's an attack on just Mexicans, bro? Like that's how I see it, bro.
No, it's not. No, because that's why, I wanted to bring up the guest that we're going to have today, because they're targeting Native Americans as well.
Absolutely.
Because remember, Native Americans are not American citizens. They're relegated to whatever prison camps they were relegated to. So that doesn't make
but that doesn't make any sense. So if they're Native Americans, and if they're attempting to deport them, where the fuck are they going to deport them? Because I think this is their homeland.
Well, there's an option for them. And here's the option is, when you put somebody in a fearful state, they'll take almost any option. It's kind of like what they call a plea deal, right? When you're scared and you don't know how long you're going to be in jail, and they'll go, hey, man, you know what? You can go do 6 months and you're out of there, but you're going to be on 7 years parole. So the way I saw it when I started hearing the details of how they were going to challenge the Native American not sovereignty, but citizenship, was because they said, okay, just because you were born in the U.S. doesn't make you an American citizen. So if you're an American citizen, you got to denounce your tribe. Denounce all the ties that you have with your tribe. So that means no more reservation, no more whatever benefits, whatever BIA card. They just become a citizen of the United States. There's no differentiating in terms of like being of Native descent.
And we have our guest chimed
Am I right on that?
Hey guys, how's it going?
How you doing, brother? Hey, this is a really good friend of, I'm a big fan of his. He does these really good editorials on TikTok. I've seen it on TikTok. I've seen it on Instagram, and I became a fan of just your commentary, your content. Because it talked about your region and in what way you guys are struggling in that area. With the you talk a lot about the tribal councils. A lot of the that you do, and the governance of the people, right? Like who we trust as officials. Like for us, it would be city council, right? The city council is responsible for the money that comes to our city and then pays for programs and makes sure that the city's clean and safe. So there's a lot of corruption right here, but we're not on a reservation. We're in a city. But I was a big fan of just how intelligent you were and how you came across. You know, your points were really well done. It's kind of hard to argue something when it's coming from that angle, right? So that was one part of me being a big fan of you. And then I'm scrolling and I'm going, hey, this kid right here, this native rapper, he's pretty good. And so I listen to your verses and then I'll just scroll up. I'm not too interactive when it comes to social media like that. But then I started going, wait a minute, this is the same guy that does the commentaries? And that's when I started going, man, this guy's really talented and very articulate and very smart. So I want to welcome my friend Jonathan, and he does Red Skirt podcast. So everybody in the LA Natives community in our region on Turtle Island, we should follow this brother, because once we are united and once the information starts flowing through the river of truth, then we have unity, and then we can have action. And then what I mean by action is connecting ourselves back to our old ways and our old principles. Those are the actions that we need to take. But yeah, Jonathan, introduce yourself, man. Say what's up to LA Natives.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on. What it comes down to is it's a lot of years of educating myself because of what my people are going through, and that really translates across the Western Hemisphere for all Indigenous people. And that's why I created the Western Hemisphere Indigenous Network and the Red Shirt podcast, just to get this basic information, this education out, because unfortunately the education system, it kind of skimmed over a lot of history. So now we're playing catch up, and we have to do it a lot quicker than we would have if we started in the 1940s. But now what I do is my focus is in my music, in my art, because I am a tattoo artist and an artist as well, is just kind of to push that message wherever I go. I want to be a walking billboard for long form community change, traditional, taking back our culture, our values, our languages is the most important thing that we can do right now. And we look at the state that we're in, and a lot of these, right now we're getting kind of a wake up call. A lot of these programs that are being cut for the Indigenous community, they are overfunded and they're being mismanaged. So we have billions of dollars going into the Bureau of Indian Education, and then we still see the lowest education rate from our Indigenous community. So there's something going on. This has actually opened a lot of our community, our traditional council's eyes to, we need to find our sovereignty sooner than later. And that starts with, just simply being educated and knowing your rights. Because if we look very deep as far as our citizenship, as far as our rights and the trust responsibility that the United States has for us, we can see that they've tied their hands with their own policies. So they have a lot of years, a lot of court proceedings, a lot of constitutional amendments to go through in order to do what he's planning on, or what Trump, the administration, is trying to push forward. So for me personally, knowing what I know and having this many years of education on this, I am not so much worried about the part of losing the treaties and the trust responsibility, because what comes with that the loss of that is full sovereignty for 576 tribes. When we have our rights to our land and they're not tied up in the federal government, we control critical minerals, we control oil, we control the roads, we control everything. So I'm not seeing it going in that direction per se, but that's the direction we do need to go in general. So it's good that we're having this conversation.
Right. And I think that it's not the same natives of old either, because I think once the unity amongst the first tier, the First Nations, because we're a mixed blood. I'm a mixed blood, and I'm not proud of it. It's just due to colonization, and I'm been displaced from my tribe being born in it with the ceremonies and all that stuff for I think over 200 years. That's what I kind of assessed. Didn't stop me from going into the NEPs and finding and going into the reservations and participating in some very powerful ceremonies such as the Peace and Dignity Run and other, private ceremonies, But I found my way back home, and I found my way back to my brothers. And I figured that, living in Los Angeles and knowing and having the career I had, I wasn't famous and I'm not famous, but I do know a lot of people and I do know how to organize things. And I have people that are willing to share the message that you have in this generation, right? I had my generation, which was the music that you just heard. I released that in, over 20 years ago. So, those are my early works. I still release music now, but I think once we start getting this information, even if it's just to hear your podcast, to know what's happening in your region. I would rather do that than listen to some podcast that's talking about some dumb stuff, or just wasting time on things that are not gonna nourish my soul, or you know what I mean? Like your struggle can inspire my struggle, and now we have a common ground. And if we have resources or strategies that work, because I think that in the early 90s, when we found our identity and we found our way back to our original space in this earth, you know what I mean? Like being displaced for so long. There are some movements that started in Mexico that were really profound, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but the Zapatista movement really inspired me to do kind of things now with the technologies that we have. Have you heard of them?
I have heard of them, but I am always learning more about the movements.
So what they decided to do was they decided to declare war on Mexico. But these were natives, and they didn't have guns, and they had some, rifles, but what they did have was the knowledge of the land. So they would go into the jungles, and the militaries weren't familiar with the jungles, so they couldn't find them. So I would recommend you spend some couple hours, man, and their movement is amazing. It was very effective. They gained an autonomy and an organization that still stands today, and they kind of rule their whole little little plots, because in the Mexican Revolution, I believe there's a law in the Mexican Constitution that says if you work the land, you can keep it. You just got to parcel it off and then, work it. But if it's not being worked, it's going to be taken over again.
Right.
So these individuals decided to declare war on the United States, but using the weapons of multimedia. Because when they declared the war, they invited a bunch of newspaper people, and everybody was interested because they're like, "What? Mexico's going to war? There's a civil war in Mexico," and so there was a lot of media. But what ended up happening is, yes, they would come into the town. They weren't murderers. They didn't do it traditionally. They just went. They read their statement. If an official was doing bad things, they would imprison him. And then, write a very eloquent letter on why they imprisoned him and why he's, holding them accountable, really. But it was all for the media to write stories. And that's what really protected them. That's what kept them alive. And they never caught this guy. He ended up, fulfilling the movement and moving on. They never caught him. They never caught him.
That is amazing. Wow. I need to check that out.
Yeah, brother. There's some really cool principles there, and we're all indigenous. See, we're all. He came up with the saying that I really kind of really admired. I really hold dear to my philosophies. Whereas we live in a world amongst worlds, right? That's like if we were to analyze our people, it would be like we live amongst natives, but many native tribes, many different, small groups, big groups, medium groups, sophisticated groups, people that live out just in the prairies. You know, we're so diverse in our own ways that the the power we had was in our communication with each other and how we would communicate to neighboring tribes. So if we were to use technology in that way, that's what I'm saying. Like even your story is more interesting to me than some story about, Trump. I'd rather listen to your story than that story. Because I know that story is just a theater. It's not even real. It
Right.
comes with
No, I think
consequences. But, anyways, I don't want to overtalk. What
no,
do you
no,
think?
you're good. No, I completely agree. Right now, though, it's the age of storytelling and getting our what we've gone through as people. As it really is thousands of unique indigenous nations, and with thousands of different languages. So, right now, I think it's imperative that we all start talking to our elders and recording and talking to the media, because there's a story that hasn't been shown ever, and that's what I think our job is to do, and that's what we
As
have
in,
been doing. That's what you've been
as,
doing, and I think that right now, what we're seeing is the unity. I'm from the plains, the South Dakota. I'm Ochete Shakoin, and
mhm.
we're uniting, and that's huge for our people, because 100 years ago, 200 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. And if that would have happened back then, I think that we would have seen a different outcome, there was 1,000 unique tribes banding together to stand up for their freedoms. And that we have the opportunity to do that now. And the nations have the opportunity to also, once we do regain our sovereignty and keep our treaty rights, we can start holding the government accountable for other nations that they've kind of brushed under the rug. And we see that all over the United States and Central South America as well.
Like to me, the United Nations came together. I'm sure it was together before World War II, but it came together with force to stop what happened in World War II, right? What stops all indigenous people across Turtle Island to create a United Nations of indigenous people and indigenous voices? Because we shouldn't have lost anything. We were
Exactly.
here. We were here to live with you. We never gave any permission for you to own anything. So we can establish our own. This is like 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 300 years from now. Who knows? I like to think in those ways. I don't like to think in that I'm going to see I'm going to do my part to make it go that way. But
Exactly.
I don't want to see it. Like I want to die on the battlefield, bro. I don't want to see the end of it. You know what I mean? I want to continue to move forward because there's a lot of inspiration. And so I think back in the days, we were terrified and we were recovering from what they did to us, which left us uneducated, unorganized, and bitter, and that whole family structure never really developed. Plus, they took my indigenous brothers' migration patterns away, their animals away, everything. So we're just the way they explained it was the rising of a new energy, right? A new sun. Because in Mexico, we capture time in 100-year periods, right? And so,
Right.
and one of those periods in '94 happened, and this is when the Zapatistas rose. So they used that energy. They didn't just randomly pick a day and just go, okay, today's the day. No, they picked the day that the shaman or not the shaman. I use shaman because not everybody's at the level, you know what I mean? But all the medicine men,
Mm-hmm.
they all gathered and told them exactly when to do it because the new sun was rising, and this would mark a symbol of the new sun. And the consciousness shift would happen after that. Like a small ripple will happen, but then now it's echoing, right? And
Right.
and so the movements come in cyclical patterns. This time around, though, we have cell phones. We have information travels so fast. Like if we were connected to a major, like our network, say our network was in the millions, your message to me would put your story out to the world in less than 15, 20 minutes. And that's being like graceful with the time, because that's how fast technology is moving. And that's
Exactly.
more along the lines of Mayan prophecy, because Mayan prophecy said that time would seem like it's moving faster than we can handle or perceive it. And it's really the way we do things, not time itself, but the way we do things. Like before, I would take longer for me to write a letter, it go in the mail, get to Jonathan. Now Jonathan has my message. But now you can text me in a second. You can say, "Hey, man, hold on. Let me answer your question right now."
Right.
So we need to use those. Those are our new bows, and those are our new arrows, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's my take.
yeah, no, it's perfect because and we need to realize that we have a lot more power than we think. I think the there is a lot of fear mongering going on, and I understand there is a lot of fearful things going on too. But it's also there's an awakening happening. I think there's prophecies, hundreds of prophecies that say right now is the time of good change. And change doesn't happen just clean. It doesn't happen clean. It's not nice. It's not fun sometimes. And in this case, when we're coming from a foundation of greed, of money, of of ego, I think we're gonna we have to face that. We have to face those people, and they're either going to heal, or at this point, there's so many of us they're gonna get rolled over,
And yeah, go on.
No, and so I think that right now, we have to unite as nations. We have to get rid of the borders as nations, and we really as people, as humans in general. You see, there's a crazy horse prophecy, and he speaks of all the people of the world coming to the indigenous people for answers. And in that, I believe that's happening right now. I think we do have the answers. We have the connection to the earth from Argentina to Alaska that people around the world have lost because of colonization in their lands, because that was going on thousands and thousands of years before 1492. So we're, and I've said this before, and I don't want to say we're be too prideful, but we're really on this earth. We're some of the last ones standing as far as the connection to the earth still. And some of our languages are the oldest, and they have that connection as well. And that's why it's so important that we don't lose our language. And I'm learning my language. And I think that everyone just tries, just start small, just start with one word, and learn that word, pass it on to somebody, and then learn another word, type of thing. It's really hard. I know. We're all working, we're all trying to live, and I'm hoping that we're rolling into a future where these resources that I know our community has, that we start reaching out together, like you and me. How we reached out to get this show going in California.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get more people on board who have that's the point of all this, is like-minded individuals, organizations getting together and spreading this message, like the American Indian movement did, and like people in your nation's movements have done. It's the time is now, and I see that happening, and it really, actually, it's amazing that we're talking in general right now.
Well, because we have to learn from our previous cycle, right? Our previous cycle was very successful, right? To see the freedom of Leonard Peltier, who inspired me when I was a 18-year-old kid, just looking at a documentary because I got into the movement, right? to see that happen, and I know there's other things attached to it. Don't get me wrong, I'm sensitive to the whole situation. But I also like to take a macro view of things and know that there was a lot of stresses on that whole entire movement. So how could we learn from that? You know, how can we implement more of what they truly were about, which was bringing back the ceremonies? They'll talk about how militant they were, but I believe they were the ones that really allowed us to go back into sweat lodges and to go back into sun dances and things of that nature. If I'm correct, right?
Oh yeah, no, they definitely that stand from Alcatraz, The Longest Walk, Wounded Knee. They really just they opened the door for the for people to feel comfortable doing that again. They always could do, we always were doing that secretly, but now it was open, and you know, there's a lot of things that go on with the American Indian movement and the FBI, COINTELPRO, and we still see those same tactics today. We saw it at the DAPL. We saw the FBI infiltrate. We saw security companies infiltrate. And that's not going to change. So what we need to do as a community is just be educated on our rights. Our people, we really shouldn't have to be on front lines of protests anymore. I 100% believe that my great grandparents, they were leaders who delegated in Washington. They knew what came with those. In back in the day, a protest turned into a war, right?
Right.
So
Right.
they never wanted that for us, and I don't want that for my people either. So I think that what comes with education comes with understanding that we have a foundation to stand on. We just need, like I said, that you see my focus on the tribal corruption. We need the right leaders.
Right.
So we all have to, we have a part to play, and that is to hold ourselves and our leaders accountable, because the leaders that are in there right now, I'm going to have to say, are in there because they were voted in. And whether that's because of fear or whether that's because of lesser of two evils, we still have a responsibility to move forward with better thinking, more traditional thinking, and hopefully get people in those positions that are ready to work with us, not against us. We don't want leaders who are, I want leaders who are willing to reach out to their community, because our communities have the talents, the resources, the education, and to build from the inside out, not go to the federal government, get millions of dollars, bring it in, hand it to local outside businesses. That's what's been happening for far too long. So it's like, tribal, and as far as your leadership, councils in the cities, and mayors, and also senators, congressional leaders, they need to understand that they're uneducated as well. I think there's a very big shadow over Congress of uneducated on indigenous people in general. So it's like once our tribal leaders stand up, we'll see that change, because our tribal leaders are in contact with these leaders. Like the other week, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, they had an issue where Christy Nome was banned from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, and the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, a chairman was speaking with her and endorsed her for the Secretary of Defense. Anyhow, they basically, what it comes down to is there is a nation to nation relationship with these leaders, and if we have the right ones in there, when we get into those governmental buildings, it's pretty simple to say, you guys have been playing us for a long time and it's over, and we're going to start implementing our own rules because we have that right. You guys amend your constitution all the time, so we will do the same, and we'll start doing things that benefit us instead of taking your money and doing what you want. So that's what we're dealing with in Indian country, but that's really, it reflects everywhere in the Western Hemisphere for indigenous people. Because like I always say it, I think people probably get annoyed of it, but we're in an active genocide. We're at the bottom of every social, health, and economic indicator, and that's not a lie. We're triple, quadrupling poverty rates
Yeah.
out of every race. So it's, we have a lot. It's a scary time, but that scary time is because of change. And like I said, change is scary. It is. So we need to stick together, and really unity, and going back to our traditions, our languages is the key right now.
But Zero, he has a point though. He was voted in. The majority of the people that live in this fucking country voted this man back in, dude. That's like, he was already in there.
But you know
and then
what?
they voted him back in.
I
based on the reality that apparently the last administration fucked up so bad that they wanted just a quick fix, I guess. I don't know.
It wasn't
a quick fix of what?
We got to remember though that it wasn't the people that voted him in. It was an electoral college that voted him in, the invisible votes, right? And when I saw Trump get reelected and then start going into the fascist rhetorics and just treating things like in that way, I felt like, oh wow, the rich elites just jumped ship and they just left the house alone, and now they got this guy who's just feels like he could do anything, but everything he's doing, he's running into a brick wall, right? Because either you're going to fall in line with fascism or you're going to challenge it. And that's what this whole protest of, so they didn't vote him in. It wasn't that. It's just that I feel like the rich, the oligarchs, they know what's happening. The fall of this has been prophesized for a long time. We're just barely getting into it. But when they decide to leave, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. And that's what it is. It's a free-for-all right now. Everybody's like, oh, look, we're going to do this. And we're going to look at where you going to mess with these guys. No one ever messed with the rest. No one ever even came close to, at least in Washington in that way.
Well, dude, I've seen clips on the news of like Native Americans getting interviewed on their reservations and they're pro-Trump. It just it boggles me, bro.
Well, that is actually I don't want to speak too broadly, but here in Ochete territory, and I don't know, we can go about politics. I'm beyond Trump and beyond Biden. What I've seen from red and both red and blue is genocide policies for our people.
Exactly.
So it's like, so for me, it's like, yeah, we're in red alert mode, and we always have been. So it's like it's time to really be educated. But I think that what we're seeing is the complete failure from the Biden administration. When somebody gets up in front of a nation who's supposed to lead and they can't read their teleprompter, that's gonna pull people back. It's gonna be like, oh, just in general. So and then you throw somebody in to try to cover for him, and that was a whole mess in itself. I think they honestly could have probably won with Biden, got him a vice president, and then had him have to leave the office because he's of old age or something, and then had the vice president take his seat. I could have seen that more so than Kamala winning. But yeah, like I said, beyond red and blue politics, nothing really has changed for Indian country. And I think that what this really has done is it's sped up what traditional leadership has been trying to do for so long. It started in the 70s, but the FBI kind of spoiled that.
Right.
And then we had 20, 30 years of it was almost like a generation that lost that connection. It was they did a really good job of getting people into the more so the American education, like going to college. That's like the best thing to do, which I'm not saying it's not. You should be going to school, you should be doing what you love, but when it's forced on you and when they take your language and stuff on top of it, there's a different story. And that's what unfortunately, even a lot of schools nowadays, they're not really, the language, even even native schools, the language isn't really the focal points. So we have almost like a neo-traditional platform in the United States, and it's almost like it's meant to pull us. It's kind of meant to pull us out of our traditional places, and get us integrated into American society,
But
which
it did. That was the plan, kind of in the civil rights movement. But it went way past that, and it still kept being racist. But it was racist in a quiet way.
right, yeah, exactly. It was
Kind of like we said, oh yeah, Obama. Oh, everybody loved Obama, and fucking we were all into Obama, but he was the one really fucking building Guantanamo Bay, fucking getting everything.
But
ready.
Zero, don't you think there's like a false, fake patriotic mentality right now?
That's what's falling apart. Is that there's only so much you could say, we're the land of the free, we're the country that frees everyone, and then your policies and your treatment of the people show otherwise. You can't keep up a lie. You can't be like.
And I think immigration, that keyword and that topic, is like the narrative being pushed right now, and it's like the
Of course
top
it
of
is,
their
because
priority.
it'll bubble up the people's emotion,
And that creates patriotism in a very awful way.
and then they go, look at how bad they behave. Look at, and they do these things on purpose. So the way I see things, though, Jonathan, is like, I come from a perspective of my pre-colonial understanding. I spent a lot of time, kind of understanding the calendar systems and how they work. And then I also come from, studying a little bit of the Masonic, understand like William Cooper, a lot of the I think more of a macro vision, because it's kind of weird, because have you read a book called Behold the Pale Horse?
No, I haven't, but I'll look that up.
Look it up. It's a good book. You should read it, because if you read it now, we read that in 1994 and we thought he was crazy. We thought he was super crazy. It gets pretty crazy. Like he's talking about like interdimensional being contact, and how they keep us in a certain state of mentality, and that comes from the Rockefellers developing the school system. So what I'm trying to get at is that this is falling apart, and everyone else jumped ship, because they're not going to stop BRICS. They're not going to stop it. They're just not going to stop it. He thinks he's going to stop it, but he's not going to stop it. BRICS is in the whole world is shifting, because the opinion of the U.S. worldwide, we are, the bearded guy, right? Because he's, going in the streets and pulling people out of their houses, and I mean, it has that appearance. And then they're challenging the natives, and
Shout out to Heron. He used to work for the Bernie Sanders campaign.
oh yeah, Bernie. But I feel like, this is just the either restructuring of the U.S. Like, they're going to either restructure it in a fascist way, in a fascist system, but they don't have the manpower or the intelligence, and that's why they've got Elon Musk up there. It's a whole show, but I'm just saying, like, in the world view, I feel like if you listen to the World Economic Forum and what direction they're going in, they're going into the mode of China. They want countries to be ruled like China. And if you study Chinese government, there's a lot of people that really enjoy that kind of system, because kind of just says, well, I'm not a bad guy anyway, so I'm just going to follow the rules.
But Zero, doesn't it? Okay, let me ask you something, Zero. Do you support deporting criminals? Because I think that's the
an
whole
excuse.
premise.
That's
Yeah,
an
I
excuse.
just think that's what they're using as an excuse, right?
Like when they built privatized prisons, that's when Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were like, oh, the super predators, and we got to build these prisons, right? They just say things so that they can have an excuse and rile people up.
Well,
But-
I've always wondered.
Well, Jonathan, like, I want to ask you, do you support deporting criminals?
I think that. I guess, so you're saying like a
No,
Mexican,
but isn't that
Mexican
what,
national
Well, not necessarily.
or
but
Salvadorian
isn't
or
that what like the narrative in the
Guatemalan.
mainstream is kind of pushing? Like, hey, that's
Right.
what they're trying to do first.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
but
I think that they're just they're trying to implement what they do with extradition in the States is like if you did something bad in Washington, or in like Texas, here they're going to bring you to Texas, and they just want to do it like that. But I think that what they really need to start doing, and what Mexico needs to start doing, is working with the United States in these cases to make it like to make it not this big of a deal, where it's like, yes, we can start working together. Our criminal justice systems are what for justice. So I think they can reflect each other enough where they could work together in that aspect. And I think that also, as far as citizenship, and if your people are living and you've been here for so many years, because if we're deporting people who have been here for 20 years, they've been helping society. Let's have the Mexican government make a deal with the United States to offer citizenship for those people. On as far as Mexico is concerned, they would pay for their citizenship if they've already been here, like something like that, where it doesn't need to be this. We need to get rid of it because those people are contributing to our nation, to everybody. We have right now, what we're seeing is, like you said, the politicians are leaving, the parties are leaving, and now we've been left alone, and then somebody's taken over. But what also comes from that is our communities, from our grassroots communities, the little towns, of these people who have been working together their whole lives. They're realizing, oh, we got to step up for the town next door, because they don't know how to do that. And that's going to happen everywhere. And that's why I see this as, and obviously it's, like I said, it's a scary time. We have indigenous people, still going through what they're going through, on top of being scared of the deportation stuff, and possibly, which I want to reassure all indigenous people or all American Indians who are tribal members, that there's no way that you're going to get deported.
Yeah.
Unless you are mistaken and you don't have any ID, and then you it's like that type of process. But at that point, you have a lawsuit to file against the government, and also tribal nations need to be standing up for their citizens if that were to happen too, and start like telling the government, hey, if you arrest our citizens and you were to deport them, we're going to have an issue. So can we please have open communication? I think that's what a lot of agencies are missing is communication. So as a community, we're realizing, and like you said, we have cell phones, we're communicating now, and we're doing it better than the government. And that is why that's why I feel like moving forward, I see the sun over the horizon. I see the sun rising for a new Western Hemisphere. People are fed up, and it's not just the indigenous people either. So we have allies that are ready to, what prophecies say is to put this back into the hands of the indigenous community, so they can show us the way out. And we see it. We see communities starting to listen to the indigenous communities. We see the fires that have been happening. They have admitted that, yeah, the indigenous people used to go through these forests and do control burning, and make sure that this was upkept throughout the years. And then when the indigenous people were pushed out, and that wasn't upkept, basically we're looking at a ticking time bomb for as far as fires. But that's besides the point of that, it maybe wasn't a fire that was started naturally, but it could have helped that if it was, that could have stopped it from spreading so far to what it did. But that's another story. And I think that they were looking at making LA a smart city. There's a lot of people who are excited about, a little too excited about it.
Right. And what better place to put that smart city than in the best real estate in Los Angeles, the most expensive real estate in the world, right? One of the first smart cities, like fully, like like a Manhattan Project. They're going to build that thing in like 3 years. It's going to be fully functional, and only the coolest, hippest actors and eco-friendly. Here's the problem, man. The problem is that even the government and Hollywood and all of them, they're having a hard time adjusting to the new way of popularity. Okay, like for instance, like this, and just as an example, not that I believe in the government or anything like that, but Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Kamala Harris relied on heavy celebrity support, because heavy celebrity support 20 years ago would convince a group of people to vote a certain way.
And you know what was even more disgusting? She depended on fucking trash hip hop to fucking take her through the finish line, bro. Like the most idiotic fucking hip hop, bro. Am I right, Jonathan? Right. Like let's be real, bro. Some of those acts, bro, that were supporting her, you were like, what the fuck was going on, right?
And then
like Cardi B, bro.
Right.
What the fuck is she on stage?
Or Stallion, what's her name? The Stallion person.
Mega Stallion and shit, fucking booty shaking on
and
stage.
It's crazy
like,
though, but it was like nobody there, because I think the age of celebrity is dying, you know, because there's more people that are interesting like you have a movement. You could be like the new what they call an influencer, right? Or a new version of celebrity. Is that whole thing is dying. All of it's dying, because you can rule people if they don't have, like, if it, like, I'm 50 years old. So I go back to sitcoms, and sitcoms weren't every day. Like, you didn't see the next show tomorrow and the next show the next day. Like, you used to wait a week before you saw the next sitcom, whatever, unless you were in reruns, right? And you still couldn't see it instantly. You had to wait till that rerun played at whatever time. What I'm trying to say is now we're in the age of phones being constant, right? They're constant. Like if you did a 20 posts on 3 different platforms, you're getting way more exposure than that person waiting for that TV show or that movie to come out. So the whole thing is dying. All of it's dying through politics, through all that. You can only lie to a people for so long. The hard part is, how many of us indigenous people are going to remember the principles, the ceremonies, the humility, the connections that we need with Mother Earth to survive this
100%.
unplugging of whatever it is that's happening? Because let's be real, it's being unplugged. It's being unplugged.
And yeah, the sad part is that we're doing it the right way, and these major corporations are kind of, in the government, they're even trying to come in and they're trying to replicate what we're doing to try to reach us, you know, like kind of like what you said back in the day, they could put a celebrity out and we'd all be like, oh, that person voted for that, I'm going to do the same thing. Now
Right.
they're like making kind of like fake grassroots movements that are really like corporate led and really just rooted in getting profit off the communities instead of helping them.
absolutely. It's like that. No, that's a perfect example of seeing the Migos on the fucking campaign trail,
Right.
campaigning for Kamala Harris. What the fuck?
Yeah, like where did
The
we
most
get to?
narcissistic hip hop ever.
Like, where do we get to? Like, it went from like this, like, but see, this is why I say, like, when you study Masonic, like when we started reading about the Masons and all that stuff and the Illuminatis and all that, those families, those rich elite families, they started it when we started reading book after book. It started to be clear that they never implemented things overnight. You know what I mean? Like it was a 50-year plan to implement certain things, right? The problem what they have, in terms of my opinion, and this is just my opinion, of their intelligence, because when I compare this government to the intelligence of like ancient cultures like the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Mayas, the Mexicas, and even our own brothers and sisters from, you know, your territories, they were brilliant people to understand when to leave, what animals to follow. That took lots of time of observation and dedication and connection. And these people don't have it. They don't have it. And where I come from, where my medicine comes from, it comes from a time where our elder, the last person that had word on this continent said that we would return. This is where we're at. But just because he said we would return doesn't mean all seeds get to be a flower.
Right.
Not all seeds get to be a tree. This is why I believe, though, if we go back to the basic principles of our culture, it doesn't have to. We don't have to agree on your politics. I don't have to agree that you may agree like, oh, we can change the system from the inside out, and I go, man, the system's done.
Yeah, but Zero, do you ever believe there will be a legitimate third party that could defeat these parties, or you just think it's a one party dictatorship?
I predict that the World Economic Forum is trying to create a universal governance, but not in the way that we're thinking, like, one uniform and everybody's. No, it's going to be more on the financial side of things. They're going to move things to cryptocurrencies because cryptocurrencies are easy to turn off and on, and you can have them, you can locate them, they're quick. So they'll just starve you to death. That's what the whole is, that whole movement of like 2030 and smart cities. And because in smart cities, everything's condensed, so no one owns a car, no one owns anything, right? That's what they said at the World Economic Forum. By 2030, people will not own anything and like it. They'll have cars, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that what we need to understand is, as indigenous people, is that we have currency on our lands. We have knowledge that is currency. We have foods that are ancient that are currency that translate that way. And I actually have a huge opportunity this upcoming year. I don't know if you've watched the Red Shirt or listened to the Red Shirt podcast, but recently I had somebody on named Michael Ridge, and he's American, but he's very educated on medicines and foods and horses and living with the land, and he's learned this from indigenous people and learned that indigenous way, and just talking to him a little bit, we have now the opportunity, because we see, all the foods that we're eating are horrible for us and are actually killing us. We have the opportunity now to go back to those old foods, those old medicines, where we don't have to take an ibuprofen for a headache. We can go outside, or we can have, our local tribe who has these medicines available to us, and then from that point, we really don't need to worry about the currencies of the whole world, of all the world, because we'd have our own, and we'd be able to work with each other. And right now, I think we're seeing that on a small level, because we've been forced into that position, whether it's because of federal funding being cut or because of mismanagement of money. We're seeing this transformation right now as we speak.
And this is what I mean, that there's only so long that you could live in a usury society, right? You know what the word usury is? Have you ever heard that term?
Usury?
Yeah, usury. Usury is lending people money with interest. That was a crime in Europe. The people that lend people money with interest were thrown out of country after country because it was illegal to lend people money with interest. So, I only bring it up because we're in a society that's saturated in usury, right? In a way that's like, we're lent fiat currency it's like debt with interest. Right, and I started thinking about that. I started thinking about, like, man, how come my $20 when I go buy this, coconut water, cost me like another 80 cents, right? And then I go back to work and I get a paycheck and it cost me $300. Like, we're saturated. And then when I run out of money, I just go get a credit card that has a 17% tax on it. You know, Russell Memes really brought it to my attention. You know, when I studied AIM, Russell Memes had a speech about how not even the serfs of medieval times would endure a 20% tax on whatever they did, that they would revolt. They would revolt, and we get taxed up to 40, 52, right? And that's just on our income tax, right? But we go and buy things too, and they tax us again. So we're never what I'm trying to say is that, okay, at one point, the collective consciousness is going to go, this is unfair, and we don't want to participate in it anymore. We need, and then that's when the information of learning how to live with nature, like the brother that you know, becomes more valuable, because I think that's the new trend. To know how to live on nature, at least in Los Angeles, you know, Los Angeles can get trendy. Over here, it's like, oh, wow, you know how to grow your own food, or you know how to do this, and you eat this, and you eat that. It's to that place now here in Los Angeles. It'll probably shift, but at least right now, at this point in time. And I think it has to do with the information that comes from, you know, social media platforms and other countries. And it's just, we're in a new era. Like, even China's tripping because I got that app for Red Note. And so now you're able to see how China, you know, how much their cars are, what their food is. And it's a different, and then they're interested in you. They're just like, you're American, please tell me your story. I want to hear it. Blah, blah, blah. Like, the information is at lightning speed.
Bro, at China right now, you could get yourself a brand new 2025 EV for like $8,000, bro.
Yeah, and they're not in debt, and they don't pay registration.
Yeah,
they don't pay registration. They don't pay. They pay a one-time tax on property.
Yet the
for
equivalent
lifetime.
of that $8,000 car, you get brand new with leather and fucking all the bells and whistles. You're paying like $40,000 for that same equivalent car with just with different badging on it.
So, to kind of surmise what we're saying, because we're saying a lot of things in a broad sense, right? But there are fundamentals to our tribalism. And I don't mean tribe by making it small. I'm just using it as an example of a group of people agreeing on one thing, or agreeing on a ceremony, agreeing on a way of running a society, whatever. But there's so much creativity in that. And when we apply our creativity to the basic fundamentals, I'm talking about like the basic number systems. Why did we do things? And for your tribe, is there any like particular numbers that you guys stick to? Jonathan?
For as far as,
like, you know, sacred numbers that you guys always use, like maybe we do 9 or 7 or 4.
okay, yeah, well, our Ochete Shakoin is 7 council fires. And you'll see 7 a lot in the northern Canadian region, because I'm assuming we were all once a confederacy or some sort of thing like that prior to 1492, and that's where we need. We have a lot of traditional governance that is in our blood. It's in we know what we're doing.
Exactly.
And I think that right now we're just taking our seat, and we really have to see who's stepping up. We need to back them up completely. And I've seen that in recently. I went to my community meeting on the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation with the Tribal Anti-Corruption League. And I saw the leadership that we have on Standing Rock, and some of the young leadership and the elders on Cheyenne River. You know, those are the leaders. Those are the ones who are ready to uphold the nation and start the economy going, and really put the people first instead of the feelings of the federal government. Which that's what's been happening is, hey, we're not going to do this because we might lose funding. from this program if we do that. So at this
But
point, our
if
leaders are
we,
like, cut the BS and move
if we
forward.
analyze funding, though, brother, if we analyze funding. We're using funding in 2025. But what was it in the 1800s? In the 1800s, it was flour.
Right? Yeah, it was commodities. Yep.
Commodities. It was things to keep us alive, right? Now they switched it. They don't even bring the flour to the res anymore. They just give you this credit, and pretty soon it's going to be a digit, right, on a computer. And if you're not in line, it's going to be cut off.
Well, a lot of like my reservation, we have my like the main source is Walmart for our people, and it's like, and they can't in some of those situations they can barely afford that. So it's like, but at the same time, we have a lot of community members who have bison, who have these abilities to grow things. But that's the other thing, is there's a lot of red tape on the ability to start your own business, to start your own ranch. And that was you spoke about earlier about in Mexico, if you were part of this
If you work
nation,
the land,
that
if
if
you
you
work
worked the land, yep.
the
And
land,
that is exactly the same thing that we have. It was the allotted land that we have. I
Mm.
could go to my reservation right now and I could apply for a plot, but the 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 thing behind that is you have to have the farm equipment. You have to build a house. You have to have a farm. You have to be able to maintain that ground, and that is to be able to do that is nearly impossible for a lot of our people. So that's a good thing, right? Hey, you can go build a farm, but you have to build that first, and then we'll give it to you. It's
and
like almost like they make it impossible, so you can't do it.
and I think if we take the approach of trying to heal our people with colonial diets, then yeah, that'll be a challenge. But
Right.
I'm a firm believer that if we go into our indigenous, at least what I did, because I'm a like I have a very strict diet. I eat once a day and I fast for 5 days every year, and I make sure that I have high mineral intake. But my high mineral intake comes from seeds, roots, algae, and pollens. Seeds, roots, algae, and pollens are the original diet of indigenous people. This is what helps control diet. This is how we're able to survive with beans, squash, and corn, because we had high root, seed, and I believe, the Mexica people, they harvested spirulina. So those are principal things in my diet that I try to take daily. But I also have to, and I'm a pretty active person, you know. I think if we were to go really deep into, now that's just my knowledge, right? Imagine if I took this knowledge to your reservation, right? Because I developed a mineral formula, and
Right. Oh, that'd be amazing, actually.
no, this is to honestly, brother. I had a vision when this formula came to me, because I'm not into food. I wasn't into food. I was into my culture, right? And one day I was like, man, I want to eat like they did. And so in the books, you'll read, oh, corn, squash, and beans. That's the principal diet. But that diet doesn't work if you don't have chia seed, cacao, maca root, spirulina, and many other forms of plant-based protein like amaranth. These foods are minerals, which are metals. Metals go into your water. Water, metal, electricity conducts energy. This is how we control diet. But if they keep us starving by giving us flour, meat, cheese, milk, these things disrupt our digestive system. And so it slows our thought process. It keeps us depressed. It keeps us unmotivated. I had a vision when I put this formula together that I was supposed to take it to the reservations and teach them how to not teach them. No, I never teach anyone. I'll share what I know with them. And
See,
the seed, root, algae, pollen diet for all indigenous people across Turtle Island would shift us in at least 50 years.
See, yeah, we gotta have a further conversation on that, because that's the stuff that you know, what me you guys were kind of earlier. You had NLC, Next Level Collaborations, my organization, and Western Hemisphere Indigenous Network. We're, besides what tribal nations they're trying to do, we see this need in every nation, and that's what I was talking about with Michael Ridge, was this expertise for these natural foods and stuff. You would be a perfect person to get that implemented on, yeah, like you said, to
And it
because
doesn't cost any, it doesn't cost, like when we get to exotic roots like maca root because it comes from Peru, but wouldn't it be beautiful for the people from your reservations to create relationships with a group of people
yes,
in Peru and then go, no, we're exchanging our currency. Our currency is our health. Our health is
100%.
our ability to take care of our community. Our community creates beautiful artisans for all the world to see, and people come to our up to our villages to learn how to live with the earth.
And I think that we, like, we're talking, this music is involved in this also, so it's
Absolutely,
like,
100%,
this is something that we can mix the education with the arts, and really making it an experience for everyone, so that everyone comes out not only with that energy from the music that we make, but also with a path forward for our communities that we haven't seen, and actually has been suppressed up until now, because we have the opportunity to have social media.
Yeah.
That's it is social media can be bad. It can pull us into this cycle of scrolling, but it also can, people are learning that you can start micro learning from it. And I think in general that brings our communities together. And I'm sure right now in California, wherever I don't know, you said there was some
Yeah,
locations that we have a thing,
I'm gonna try to do a show in San Bernardino, San
because
Diego,
right,
and
so I'm sure they would, there's people that who are listening right now who are probably going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going there for sure, if they're talking about seeds and talking about stuff like that,
right. No,
besides just the music.
and I know that there's a lot of wisdom that comes from all indigenous communities across Turtle Island, because Mother Earth was abundant. She was
Hmm.
abundant. She wasn't abundant in gold or fiat currencies or this colonial way of wealth, but she was abundant in minerals.
Hmm.
It's unfathomable to think that we spirulina farms. Imagine spirulina farms across all the reservations. No one would die from malnutrition, right? This is what, being in a fasted state allows you to be creative in terms of like what the need is, that the community that sits around you, right? And so, as I'm developing this mineral formula, I'm going, wait a minute, they can grow chia seed on this res. They can grow amaranth on this one. They can grow spirulina on this one. Imagine if they constantly grew high mineral foods for
That
all
would
indigenous
be
people across the
that would
globe.
be amazing, because we have what even if we couldn't grow it necessarily on, because some reservations, there unfortunately there's only ability for some things to grow, which they are very important, but it's almost like we all have a piece of the puzzle for our health.
Exactly.
And so I think that actually at the Cheyenne River Reservation, I have somebody now who's they have a tribe in the Chiapa tribe, I believe it was,
Mhm.
or nation. They're gonna be trading peppers, or trading, things like that for bison meat.
There you go. That's cool. Hell
And
yeah.
so we have bison, they have that, and so in this case, this works the same with minerals. It's like you have minerals, we have these other things that you could utilize, and together we just have a network, and this is a currency, and
Right.
this is our new economy basically, and it's something that we control. It's something that sticks in our communities. We can have the Ochete Shaku, and we're Buffalo nations basically, like all. So it's like we have that covered, right? And
Mm.
so I know that you have our back on minerals, and
Yeah.
then the nations to the east, they have our back on what they have to offer, and it's just this is that's why I'm saying this is such an eye-opening thing, and it does take a lot of, you're gonna have to pray. You have to pray. You have to reconnect to see what is happening in the right angle, in the right light. Because if you are a little bit too stuck in the fear mongering and stuff, it does look hopeless. But on the flip side, you turn around and you can see the sun coming up, and that's what I think that this conversation is in general is bringing. So
That's why, you know, when I kind of came across your page and I listened to what you had to say, or how you said it, and I felt like, you know, this is like, because I know I'm older than you, you know, and I have to, you know, the generation gap has to end. There has to come a time and a point where me being older isn't corny or funny, but actually digested, because that's what I did when I was your age. That were my age, I listened to their stories, and they told me the stories of how hard it was being a Chicano trying to get into the Sundance, how hard it was to not know your tribe, but still, you know, having to do twice as hard the rites of passage that other indigenous people. But we were grateful that they even gave us that chance. We didn't have anything before that.
100%.
The AIM movement and the Chicano movement, when it merged, it brought us back together one step closer to our original way of being. That we didn't see race. We only saw people who were brave enough to follow the path.
100%.
That's what I feel like we were given that task by those. I don't like to get into the politics of that time, because to me, AIM, I don't judge it. Yeah, there was huge mistakes made, but John Trudell moved my spirit. You know, Russell Memes changed my life.
100%.
Leonard Peltier gave me power, hope, no fear. He's the epitome of no fear, in my opinion. Just as me.
In real, yeah. And behind all of those people, what were our women, our matriarchs who were able to, you know, keep us in that,
Yes.
in the headspace where we weren't just bringing our people, which we saw in the past, where we brought our people to war because we're warriors, and sometimes we need that other side, that balance. And I think right now we're coming into the balance, the full balance, where it's not just men chiefs, it's our women and our matriarchs
The lead.
standing with us and leading.
Yeah.
While we you know, some of us are creating a path for them, some of us are their security, and some of them are there to continue the fight when they're gone. And so for me, I feel like I'm just a path, you know, I'm creating a path for my leaders, and that's my focus. And I think that, you know, you've been doing the same thing, and that's what this whole
Yeah.
conversation really just points to, the need to go back, you know.
Well, you know, there was one point in my spiritual road where I had to tell myself, these prayers come true. I'm not just doing this. The prayer comes true. If I'm praying for it and I'm doing the things that I need to do, like my ancestors taught me how to do, like my uncles are telling me how to do it, then these prayers come true. They're not just prayers that I hope come true. These prayers come true. Their prophecies come true. Period. Because they're strong men. They had impeccability with their word. They're not these colonial liars that will keep lying to you till the ends of time. They weren't those people. Our great heroes, Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull, everybody, Cuauhtemoc, Zapata, everyone across Turtle Island, When we realize that we have no division between us and that our ancestors' blood run in all of us, then we return balance back to Turtle Island. We don't conquer anyone. We call people out on their destruction of our mother, but we do it in a good way, in a healthy way, because we're not violent people. There's power in that. That's what I believe.
100%. Yeah, I always say that the true council is Unchi Maka, is Earth. And I think that we need to start listening to what we need to do to keep our Earth safe for generations, not just because right now the way we're going, there's not many generations left where there's a lot of change to even be implemented if something doesn't happen soon. We're going to see it. And one of the things that I don't know if you've seen me get into is critical minerals like lithium, nickel, copper, all of that. We're seeing a big, and I think this ties into all of it as well. This is our opportunity as nations because we have so many of these minerals on our lands, most of them actually, which means we hold the power of technology. We hold the power of military, and we have the ability now to be responsible with that power. So I think moving forward, in general, we all have a bigger duty than even our great grandparents or grandparents did, is to really push through what they established. And I think that right now we have everything working against us, but with a community this strong, with the Lakota Nation, and nations across the Western Hemisphere coming together, this is possible. It's not, and it's a dream that is coming true, and it's
their word. It's what they prayed for.
Yo, Zero, the views are off the charts right now. The chat is lit. Yeah. Make sure you guys call in 626-596-1033 if you want to join the chat. Great conversation. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel if you're not. Like the video, share the video, and comment.
It's their power of prayer, man. Like, sun dances are powerful. Leonard Crow Dog was powerful. It didn't seem that way because we try to think of power being like dominant, like a colonial version of it. But we're like a drop in water that ripples, right? And they don't realize that our ripples go far. They don't just go one generation; they go generation. Like we're still talking about Crazy Horse, brother. We're still talking about Sitting Bull. Why? Because their intentions were that powerful. They're still rippling in the ocean of time. I'm still talking about Cuauhtemoc, which was 500 years ago. His words were so eloquent that they're still rippling in time. Because they're true to our blood. We respond to frequency. We respond to intention. We respond to connection. And that's why I encourage my native brothers and sisters to start researching seeds, roots, and algae all across Turtle Island. All of our nations ate them. All of our nations focused on them. It makes sense. We didn't have refrigerators. What would be the easiest thing to carry and find? Seeds, roots, pollens. Simple. They're like common sense. Their time is done. They're falling apart. We need to not fall apart again.
And the nice thing that I'm seeing is that non-indigenous people are fed up as well, and they and you actually this really does reflect in the vote how many people voted, but we that's a whole different conversation. People are starting to wake up because, and unfortunately it comes with when it hits your own bank account, right?
Right.
So people are starting, and that's fine. This is the process. This is the prophecy, right? This is how it's supposed to happen. So now
You're
everyone,
forced to adapt.
exactly. And so now people they're seeing, hey, we can't rely on these grocery stores. We can't rely on the government to send, possibly trucks would be not making it to these grocery stores because they're taxing trucks so much that they don't want to do their jobs. So now we have to figure out, hey, can I plant a garden? Where do we plant a garden? Is there a law against a garden? People are starting to think like this in the general public. And so that's translating to, who do you know who knows how to do this? Like, what are some of these natural foods in the area that we can start utilizing? It always goes back to the indigenous community. Someone who's indigenous knows, because that was our land for thousands of years. And this, yeah, like I said, this is a prophecy. They're going to come to us. They're going to say, hey, what can we do to save our people? You're saving yours in this time of change where people think that money is more important than water. It's
Well,
like,
Zero, Heron is saying that garden beds are a trend right now. Like, people are now, if you have the resources, you know what I'm saying? If you have your backyard or a little patio where you could grow your little 10 by 10 vegetables.
I mean, you can have a greenhouse. You can have a greenhouse. It's like year round. So
I think everyone should have that option, it's like, hey, in a perfect society, the government would want you to be self-sufficient so they didn't have to take care of you, so they could focus on other things. Like, I don't know why the thinking is so off, but that's why we're here again. But
yeah, because in the 70s we weren't ready to receive the shift of the earth. Like, I was able to go to Mexico City and meet some very sacred people, and they really kind of shift my frame of thought, because they said, we don't defend the earth. Don't say that you defend the earth. You can't defend the earth. The earth is giving you life. How are you going to defend the earth? Doesn't make sense. How about we're with her and her change? If you're here and I'm here, then her vibration is coming up through our feet into our hearts, and they're telling us to gather, and it's telling us to gather. We need to be that sensitive again. We need to feel the vibration of our Mother Earth, Tonantzin. We know her as Tonantzin, and we need to feel her vibrations come up our feet into our heart and just innately follow her, because she's on our side. She's never not been on our side. We chose not to be on her side when we decided to be colonial and not challenge anything and everything they gave. But now it's time to be ultra sensitive, where words are no longer needed. You just feel that vibe from that mother. She'll tell you what to do. Our heart is still beating and our heart is still connected. At least that's what they told me. At least that's what the fire tells me,
Right. No, that's so true. It's, and I think that right now, I think the message we also need to push with the prophecy is that each of us, we each have a responsibility to use our own voices. We can't always expect, especially now, in the future, when we have reestablished our communities, our health, mental, physical, our governance. This is when we can give the leadership and those duties that a normal community has to the leadership, to the councils. But right now, we have a responsibility as citizens to step up, and this is a unique position. There's people who have had to do this in the past, but as far as in world history, we are seeing what they're going to talk about in 200 years as the Western Hemisphere indigenous genocide taking it'll be known as a revolution. And it won't be a revolution with weapons and guns. It'll be a revolution of knowledge and truth and health and medicine and food, traditional food. So, I'm excited. I know that our ancestors have our backs. I know that Wakantanka has our back. And I know that this is a plan and we're here for a reason. And but we beyond talking about, like I said, the prophecies, we have to do our part. We have to speak up. We have to tell our councils, you're not doing your job. We have to tell our congressional leaders, our mayors, you're not doing your job, and it's costing us our lives, and we're already in a genocide. So, from this point on, we're going to be having your feet to the fire
Yes.
for the sake of 7 generations from now.
Absolutely. 100%, brother. It was a pleasure talking to you, man. It was, I think the conversation was progressive. I hope we were able to inspire our community of LA natives and the Red Shirt community podcast over there that you got going on in you're Missouri, right? No, not Missouri.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yep.
And we wish all of our community out there in Minnesota, hopefully we can work quickly, create our youth center here and start inviting some of your youth to come out here and experience what it's like to be in Los Angeles. We need to start putting that migratory, but put it on the youth. Create programs to take them across the country and across Turtle Island.
And real quick, where can fans get your podcast?
Yeah, if you just go on Spotify, type in the Red Shirt podcast, it'll show up. It'll show up with a few baseball podcasts, but you'll see it's very obvious native. So it's a native. You'll see the shirt, the native shirt.
Yeah. And
So-
everybody go follow Jonathan on his pages, all of his pages. You want to shout out your do they have different names?
Well, no, just Red Shirt VI on TikTok, Red Shirt VI on Instagram, on YouTube. It's WHIN 2024, and on Spotify, the Red Shirt Podcast. Also, if you want to know about what my organization is doing, you can visit the nextlevelcollaborations.org, or you can visit Western Hemisphere Indigenous Network.com, and it shows what we're doing. And actually, you speak about your youth center. I'm actually in the works of a basketball league center on my reservation.
Oh, cool.
Where there will be a dorm type setting with a basketball court, and this could translate into any sport really throughout the year. But I was thinking, that'd be amazing to get LA people here and our people there, and just kind of have that network. And also, with your knowledge on the minerals, that is necessary.
That's a given, brother. Anytime you want I could do plenty workshops. I can guide tribal councils on what foods to buy to create this formula. This formula is for the res. This formula is for indigenous people all across Turtle Island. It has no race. It has no judgment. This is simply our Mother Earth giving us back what we need.
We could even set up remote video presentations, like whenever
we can.
Our
do
brother
that.
has little workshops in at his area. Like we could tap into the Restream or software, and we could have Zero give his little.
I guess what we're
workshops.
saying is, can we join your network in any way?
100%.
Yeah.
I need, especially people that are knowledgeable and want to get this stuff done. That's exactly who we need. And that's actually, it's funny because that's exactly who is falling in place for us. Is people are just like ready, because I spoke about a basketball tournament and I put it on Facebook, and somebody in my community who works with funding and works with a couple schools, they're like, hey, we have a few buildings, we have a basketball court, and we have another school who wants to contribute. So people are stepping up, and we're gonna see a lot of people wanting to that mineral, the minerals and the how to get our communities healthy again.
Absolutely.
And
And that's cool that you like basketball. I like basketball.
Yeah, for some reason,
LA
Native
we got
American-
Luca in LA now. so.
Native country loves basketball, right, brother?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, you're not gonna. I was making a joke earlier. I was like, the Lakota especially. It's like we don't have a lot in our reservations, but one of the things is basketball. So we get really good, we get really competitive, and because we're a reservation, unfortunately, we don't get seen a lot. But if you look up some of those basketball tournaments, it gets pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, look, we need to start using our creativity. Los Angeles is like Lakers. I mean, we have resources over here that require us to reach out to remote communities, and that's my dream. I have connections with Dakota Bear and Drizas and HK from Canada. These are Canadian Native Americans from Canada. And so my dream is to kind of, unite all of our peoples in a general sense, not in a
Right. Yep.
we're all going to be different, and we all got to just enjoy our company. And when I get to go to Minnesota and you get to come to Los Angeles, I mean, we enjoy each other's company, and we're happy to see each other. We're happy to be able to share space with each other and become that tribe that our ancestors prophesized we would be. It didn't mean that we were going to take over this government and that the White House was going to bend to our will. It was going to be that we were going to go past that already. Enough with the slavery, enough with the exploitation and usury of the people of this Turtle Island.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, no, that would be amazing to get you and to Minnesota, because no, this is what needs to happen, and I think
And you coming here is gonna be fun too, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hook up a couple shows. Once I make the teaser flyer, I'm sure other communities will want to reach out to you, and then it's an opportunity for you to promote Red Shirt and the information that you're giving across the nation, across Turtle Island, and hopefully we can penetrate Mexico. We're gonna go all the way down, bro.
Yeah, no, I've been always down to get down to even, almost to Antarctica. So
Let's go. Well, it was cool talking to you, brother. I mean, I don't, I know it's late out there where you're from, and we usually wrap it up around this time, and I want to leave a little bit of juice in the bottle for your tour when you come down here, and we put a couple of these shows together so that we can tell our people that we're united forever and ever, and that our bloodlines go beyond race,
right, no,
and time, really.
Exactly.
Our elders. You were
Yeah,
inspired.
because
Go ahead.
yeah, no, at one point we were, our people were, crossing paths, thousands of years ago as well. And, it's not ending here. This is not the end for us. This is actually the beginning of a new but traditional, economy, governance, health, wealth for our people. So it
Absolutely.
was amazing being on here, and I'm glad we made this connection, because you're doing exactly what we're doing, and what better to have a team, kind of like the Avengers.
Yeah. I mean, Los Angeles has a mystique about it that everybody wants to come here and everybody wants to do things here, and it's kind of a little bit different when you grow up here and you're raised here. But
Right.
but I know that I could be a good host for all my talented brothers across Turtle Island. I know that
yeah.
a lot of my brothers have strong messages to them, and the prophecy is that colonialism would not rule us forever. It didn't have the connection with Mother Earth to rule us forever. It didn't have the calculations and the math equations to rule us forever. All it had was greed and misused power.
100%.
I think one day we're going to stand side by side with our women, and we're going to focus, and we're going to put our one drop and let it ripple across time. But that drop is going to change everything on this land. Our humility, our bravery, our wisdoms, they're one. So, all right, my bro. Any last words?
No, thank you for having me on, and yeah, I'll keep in touch, and we'll get going on
April.
unity of the unity. Yep, April.
April. Hey, we should have a little phone conversation, kind of think of a name of the tour, get serious on naming it, and then let's move it. Let's move forward. Thank you so much, community, for joining the chat. Armando, once again, thank you for putting on this podcast, bro. We're nothing without you. And community, everybody in the chat. I know we don't interact in that way.
The chat was super lit today.
Absolutely, man. We have a strong community, man, and we're just getting started. Like he said,
Shout out to Ironhide, East Souls Audits,
Yeah, this is the beginning of a new cycle.
Quetzal Gonzalez, Isn't She Lovely? Ironhide, Heron,
What did I
Quali,
Shut on, head on. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Dasani. Man, it just
yeah, it was pretty lit today, Jonathan. You're famous, bro.
yeah. No, I think people are just they're happy to hear like there's a path kind of, you know,
Well,
there's a path for us, and
absolutely.
we're conversating about what that is, and I think that it gives hope. That's what
Yeah,
we need.
yeah, we
and
just
actually, I'm actually gonna check out the rest of your podcast. You know?
yeah.
Yeah, right now it's we have Natani Means first episode,
Beno Natani. Ask him about
Sten,
me. He's cool.
Sten Jotty, next one, and then Stephanie Big Eagle, and then Michael Ridge. And coming up, I don't know if you've heard of Throne.
No, I haven't.
You should look them up.
All
They,
right.
I'll send a link to you. But yeah, they would
Yeah, that'll
be
be dope.
somebody. They would be people to get onto this tour too. You should hear
Perfect.
that. I've heard their music. It's they're a duo, a
Dope.
hip hop duo. And yeah, when you hear their music, I'm like, it's like something new, but it's like it's
It needs to
I
be
don't know. It's so
progressive.
familiar. I don't know. Yeah, it's
It needs to
amazing.
be. Music has to take its own shape for us now. It's no longer, these popular. As you can see, celebritism is dying because of the whole Diddy thing and Weinstein, and we just need to be very creative. And I'm excited to hear that new this group right here because we live in Los Angeles, man. Everybody gets exposed here. So if I could be a good host to all these individuals across Turtle Island and do it in a humble way and share my piece too, because I also am a part of the artist community. I've been a part of the artist community for 25 years. So now it's time to really create a foundation for the next 7 generations. And I appreciate your energy, Jonathan, and we'll see each other soon. Ometeo Tlasucamatli.